back to the 13th Istanbul Fashion Conference organized with media sponsorship of Bloomberg HT. We are actually having a very exciting and excited enthusiast activity here, and we have very important names joining us here with our sessions. We've started to talk more about sustainability, and now it's our second session. Uh, Ms. Dilek is our Ms. Dilek is our moderator again, and now I will give my post to her again. Who are we going to be together now? We are going to have the new participants. We will have Florian Hooibrande, Lenzek Vice Chairman, Ihsan İpeker, the member of the board of executive from İpeker Textile, and Deepa Hingorani from the Textile Sustainability Consultant from the PEFC. Please go ahead. Ms. Dilek, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I will start with Florian. Nice to have you with us, Florian. Good to have you back on our panel. We were together last year as well. Florian, at Lenzing, sustainable fibers are your passion. Generating additional benefits for people and the environment is at the heart of your sustainability strategy and targets. And your focus on creating new fibers, and you have traceability and transparency in your focus. Can you tell us about the new developments within the company? You have come up with new fibers.
Yeah, no, absolutely, my pleasure. Maybe just quickly for those who don't know Lenzing, so we are the global leader in wood-based cellulose fibers. We produce viscose, modal, and lyocell fibers, and we sell them under the brands of Tencel and Ecovero. And indeed, we are constantly trying to innovate around sustainability and transparency. Very recently, we've launched and innovated a new product. It's called Tencel Carbon Zero, and it addresses a big problem in the textile industry. We've seen in the past that climate change and carbon emissions is a huge challenge for the textile industry. And I think most of you have seen reports that talk about the massive carbon emissions that the textile industry produces. I think many leading textile companies, brands, and retailers have actually come together and said, okay, we need to reduce these emissions. And Lenzing also only a few months ago declared science-based targets, where we, in line with the Paris climate conference, declared that we'll reduce our carbon emissions by 50% in 2030 and go to zero in 2050. And we now wanted to bring a fiber to the market that reflects that. And this product is called Tencel Carbon Zero, and it's the first carbon neutral fiber in the industry. And with this fiber, we've managed to reduce carbon emissions to a very low minimum. We've switched completely to green energy. We've increased energy efficiency. We've invested in our production plants to make sure that the carbon emissions are reduced by 60 to 80% compared to normal fibers. And the very little that's still left, we then offset together with our partner, Natural Capital Partners, which is an NGO that helps us to fund projects that offset carbon emissions through renewable energy and other initiatives. So by reducing the energy requirement, the energy need, by switching to green energy, by collaborating with our suppliers, and by offsetting the remaining emissions, we go from all the way to zero. And I think this is a very important contribution to the industry to reduce the carbon footprint. So by using these fibers, each supplier, each brand can reduce its own carbon footprint. And I think that's our latest innovation that we are very, very proud and confident of.
Thank you, Florian. Thank you. But one question that I wanted to ask you, just because sustainability is important to consumers doesn't mean they feel sufficiently empowered or even willing to shop sustainably. A BCG research shows that a lack of clarity and awareness, as well as higher price points, are preventing customers from purchasing sustainable goods. So all your efforts, without creating the clarity and awareness around the subject, how do you plan to manage this?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think we recently did a survey with thousands of consumers, and we see that a lot of people are interested and in sustainable clothing. They want to know, understand where the clothes come from, and many of them are also willing to pay more. But in fact, of course, not everybody. And when it comes to the real shopping decision in the shop, many times I think consumers might shy away a bit from paying a bit more. I think there's a few things that we try to do. We first try to create transparency and educate consumers about the impact that positive fashion can have on the planet. But the truth is that we need partners to do that. We need our value chain partners, we need the brands and retailers to create that transparency, to educate consumers, to tell the story in the shops, in the online stores, to tell them what are sustainable clothes, what label certificates are out there to guide purchasing decisions. I think there we actually have a long way to go because many times consumers are just confused. So we're trying to do this via social media, but we need a lot of support and help from our partners.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll now go to Deepa. Hello, Deepa. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Dilek. Lovely to be here. I mean, I've worked so much with Turkish suppliers during my career, so I'm really excited to be able to speak to them today as well, and all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're representing PEFC, the Program for Endorsement of Forest Certification. It's a global alliance of national forest certification systems. But as an international nonprofit, you're dedicated to promoting sustainable forest management through independent third-party certification. Why is sustainable forest management relevant for the fashion industry? And what are the drivers for responsible sourcing of forest fibers?
Well, why it's relevant is that, the need of the responsible use of forest materials is driven by a lot of different factors. There's increasing concerns about climate change as well as consumer trends towards transparency and sustainable alternatives. So brands and retailers are really aware of the wider sustainability impacts of producing garments, and that compels them to implement much more responsible procurement policies. And from a broader sustainability point of view, I mean, the UN developed 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and most of them are linked to the impacts of fashion. So forests are actually a part of the solution. Fibers come from a renewable source, and, thanks to recent technological innovations, they consume relatively low levels of water and energy. But, it is a problem if they come from controversial or unknown sources. Currently, only 13% of forests and only 28% of wood-based materials are certified to sustainable forest management standards. And we need to work together to improve this. And I completely agree with our previous panel member that, collaboration between these different stakeholders is so important to create a more responsible industry. That's why in my role as the sustainable consultant, I engage with brands, suppliers, and other textile and environmental organizations to contribute to these sustainable goals. The drivers, they're also various. So as mentioned, there is an increase in demand for these fibers. Forest fibers such as viscose, acetate, and lyocell, they now make up around 6.2% of global textile production. So that's around 5.6 tons of viscose-stable fiber. And there's a projected increase of 30% by 2032, which is a lot. So brands are sourcing around 6.7 million metric tons of dissolving wood pulp for apparel fibers a year. And to put it very simply, that means that most brands are using around 5 to 10% of wood-based fibers in their collections, which is a high volume for a lot of different brands. So if you imagine only 50% of the supply is coming from a sustainable source, that means the remaining 50% could be sourced from unknown or controversial origins, and we don't know if these fibers are then contributing to deforestation or poor social conditions for people living and working in the forest. So this actually brings quite a significant reputational risk of which using certified material eliminates. And also, I'd say let's not forget that besides having their own sustainability values, brands are also under pressure from consumers, investors, board members, and also retail platforms like Zalando to be transparent. So it's really important that brands know where forests and materials and other materials they're using come from. And this is why traceability is more important than ever. And our chain of custody certification comes in as it connects forest materials to the final garment.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you very much for explaining that. It's very important for all of us to understand the sustainable forest management.
Thank you.
Şimdi İhsan Bey'e geçmek istiyorum. İhsan Bey,
I'd like to give the word to Mr. Ihsan, and Mr. Ihsan is the board of
İhsan Bey,
member of the board of İpekhirer Textile.
olarak
you are a family business.
Ülkemizde verimlilik.
You talk about
bunların hep yapı taşlarını oluşturduğunuz
this creates the building blocks.
Ben şimdi size bu bakış açısının aslında günümüzün sürdürülebilir kalkınma ile aynı şeyler olduğunu gördüğümüzde bu yolculuğa nasıl başladığınızı ve nasıl bir değişiklik sormak istiyorum.
Hello Deepa, hello Florian, hello Dilek Hanım. Thank you very much also for inviting me here to be with you. Of course, this is a journey. That this is not something you plan to be here. It is about your being and about the culture of your company and also the family members, especially in the companies owned by the families. I am representing a family who has been in operation since late 1800s, and we are one of the oldest textile producers in the textile industry in Turkey, and we have been continuing with the 5th generation at the moment. We believe that sustainability, it should be a mindset. It is not something that should be studied economically. Once you separate the economical value of sustainability with the other values and you start concentrating what is more valuable for you, then the journey starts right there. In our journey, when you look at it, we started our textile journey in the late 1800s as a silk producer. We were one of the first fully integrated silk mills in Europe and Turkey. But in the long way that we evolved, we changed with the expectations of our environment and seeing also the negative impact what the textile industry is causing to the environment. Therefore, our journey started also in 1965. We have been the first textile company to take place in the first fully organized district of Turkey in Bursa Organize Sanayi Bölgesi. And this is where the journey started for a more responsible production. And since then, by concentrating also the materials, raw materials that we are using, and also the production techniques, methods, and technologies, and combining that under the fashion understanding and offering in a package that the final consumer can accept it as a value, even if they haven't understood the sustainability side of it, at least they were feeling more sympathetic to the fashion side of it. And over the years, I am so glad that not only us, but many other valuable companies, we are able to explain the importance of the change and how big of a positive impact we can cause by making the changes in our industry. While doing that, for example, we started with silk production as a journey, but today we are the world's first V-label producer who has the vegan textile production systems in their company, and we are having 100% cruelty-free production. So for us, at the end, as a summary, everybody should ask, all the industrialists and also the final consumer and all the other partners in the chain, where are we standing with the sincerity point of it? Once we put sincerity as the word and the value in the middle of your whole operation, it is very easy to shape the rest. And once you also understand more is less, if you can do more of the positive impact, like upcycling, industrial symbiosis, circular economy, and reusing and recycling and waste management, if you can improve in these points, and if you can do less consumption of energy and resources, this balance actually, it brings a more successful change for the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Çok
İhsan Bey.
teşekkürler. Çok sağ olun
But over
İhsan
the
Bey.
last few months, we have seen the fashion industry's ability to adapt quickly, particularly regarding rapid production and personal protective equipment. This agile and open attitude to change continue to be a strength in building a thriving fashion industry for the future. In post-pandemic, the focus should be on restorative practices for both people and the environment. Do you agree?
The pandemic has been a great chance for humanity. It was a point where we stopped and everybody was thinking in their homes and trying to understand what really happened here. As human beings, we are very interesting creatures that if we are not hurt and if we are not affected negatively, unfortunately, we continue living as it is, and we are not able to comprehend what the change has caused. But once it touches your lives, and I see all around me in the industry, through the people, through the consumers, people, they have been affected negatively during the pandemic. And they came to ask the question, why? Why are we standing here as the humanity? And the, of course, answer was easy, that after disturbing the whole ecology and the whole biosystem, and by polluting, and at the end, by changing the whole biomass of the earth, today, what we are living is not so surprising. I hope this will be a great change for many, many people. I see that the value also started to change. In the past, in the fashion industry, the fashion consumers, their evaluation was fast fashion, quick, rapid turns. The quality doesn't have to be there that much. If the color is there and if it's at a reachable price, the environmental impact, it wasn't the most important point. And also the dollars that they would pay per garment, it dropped comparing to 20 years ago, and it has been continuously dropping. And the result is less sustainable, and also from the life cycle analysis, garments that they cannot be used for a long time. As being life cycle thinkers, this is what we call ourselves at İPEKER. Our purpose is to create fabrics for garments that can improve the life cycle analysis of the product, not only by the means of the fibers and not only by the means of the chemicals and the processes. We believe that if the garment, it can be used for a longer period of time, this will be the greatest impact. And if the consumer at the end, by the acknowledgement of environmental impact, at the end will impact them negatively, they will start paying a little bit more. And once we can catch the equilibrium in here, I believe the great change will come. I will also probably my customers from the fast fashion industry are listening to me here right now. But yes, fast fashion is the worst thing for the environment. The whole industry needs a greater change at the moment, and circular economy has to be in the middle of it.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Thank you very much to all my panelists. It was great to have you on board, and we're looking forward to a circular and renewable future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for these two sessions about sustainability and for your moderation. We shall continue to the 13th Istanbul Fashion Conference. This is the time we give the word to the youth, the representatives of the industry, the experienced members of the industry uh, addressed. And now this is about rebirth. Now digitalization, innovation tells us it's time to go to the youth. This is a short break to be followed by our next session. Stay with us.